Hello everybody and welcome to Kitbashing, where we do only original ideas and do not plagiarize anybody. Today we're going to build a super cool and original idea of a Deathguard saturnine unit. And I start the build by taking this fly that shall be named Dylan, that flew and drowned into my paint water cup, and we inter him into his eternal sarcophagus with some super glue. After gluing everything together and getting glue all over my fingers, I attach the top and the bottom part together, and then I start working on the surrounding details. After first almost losing this color bit into the void, I snip off the front emblem and glue it on the front of the chest so I can have everything together and trim it down with my cutters and then sand everything smooth. I want to make this unit look more like the saturnine praetor with the big ass axe in hand, so I took this halberd from the regular Plagarism box. I had trimmed down all of the extra hands from the shaft and the coiled up tentacle from it. The saturnine hand had to be modified a bit to make the attachment look good, so I cut off one of the thumbs and filed a groove into the palm of the hand to make the shaft of the halberd fit more evenly. After that, I had to do some fiddling on the thumb, trimming it down a bit and cutting a groove into the shaft of the axe handle, make the thumb look like it's actually gripping the axe instead of just laying on top of it. After a drop of super glue and twiddling with the thumb a bit, the weapon is ready. I had this bell on a chain left over from my very first build, and I decided to put it on the left shoulder pad so I wouldn't get sued for copyright infringement. And here I'm just using a bit of blue tack that is not so blue, just to pose and test fit the model and that all the accessories that I attached to the shoulder pads are not in the way. And then just super gluing everything together to make the building part a bit easier. I wanted to add a Deathguard symbol to the other shoulder pad, so I decided to try and carve out this triple skull motif out of one of the regular Plague Marine shoulders. I start with my clippers and I very carefully cut around and behind the symbol, and then I trim off all the excess when I got it out. I carve out the power nodule and I find to my amazement that the symbol fits just perfectly. I also took these trophy racks from the Chaos Space Marine Terminator's kit and decided to add those onto the shoulder pads as well to make the model look more chaosy. I use, of course, a bootlegged Lord of Contagion head because I couldn't afford a real one and I really wanted to make this one look exactly the same as Pete the Wargamer's. I add some dots and dings and some battle damage with a Dremel off camera, and then I prime everything with Wraithbone spray. I slap on my super wash, that is a 50-50-50 mix of Skeleton Horde, Agrax Earthshade and Lamian Medium. After apply the layers, I wash off my brush in clean water and then I soak off all of the excess to make the wash be more like a gradient. I'm trying to do it almost like you would do on an oil wash, but using the regular Citadel washes instead. It has a similar effect and you don't need to wait for a long drying time and need to mess around with white spirits. As always, we take our trusty pet rock to do our metallic dry brushes and apply brass color to the trims of the shoulder pads. I break off my shitty green stuff joint that I used on the chain for the shoulder pad here, and I just glue it on later. I also painted all the parts that are gonna be metallic black first, then I just dry brushed everything with lead belcher that is gonna be regular steel. I didn't go for a Golden Demon level paint job on this thing, just quick down and dirty on all the washes and the metallics. They were just doing a bit more of the trim. On the axe, I based the whole thing in Abaddon Black, then I started stippling on layers of Moorfang Brown for the rust effect. After that, I put on some Troll Slayer orange into the mix and stipple that onto the blade, making it look more like a rust highlight. And then in the second final step, I just go back to Abaddon Black and stipple a bit more of the dark spots into the axe blade. As the final step, I just take some lead belcher and stipple that all over and dry brush it along the edges of the axe blade. For the plasma coils, I take a very heavily watered down white paint and just let it drip into the grooves of the plasma coils. I did 2 thin coats of this just to make sure that I get everything nice and covered. Then I take Tesseract Glow Technicolor paint to give it that greenish glow. Even though Tesseract Glow is usually for like a Necron painting, I wanted to give this plasma cannon more like a sickly green hue and glow to it. Then a drop of glue to the arm joint, and that's the posing almost done. Here I fucked up the helmet a bit. I tried to give it a neat looking green look by using Plague Bearer flesh onto the white base paint, and just came out looking too bright and green. I tried to darken it down with some Mantis Warrior contrast paint, but still too green. But not to worry, I can fix it later. After I dropped the model for the 10th billionth time during this build, I put a few dabs of super glue and glue on the shoulder pads. For the basing, I just use 3 pieces of pine bark, and then I put some small bark shavings in between the cracks, and then just dry brush the shit out of it. First with some browns, and then going towards lighter and lighter greys. A few dollops of super glue, and the model gets attached to the base. For the shoulder pads themselves, I just used the regular Deathguard green. Had to apply in 2 or 3 thin coats to get the coverage just right. And here I'm fixing my previous mistake with the helmet. The trophy racks get their wooden spikes based in Morfang brown. The shoulders get a quick wash of the grimy wash that I used earlier. And for the trophy racks, I just mix contour blue for the Space Marine helmet, and I base all the skulls in Screaming Skull. The skulls get the same wash treatment as everything else in the armor. And I think for the Space Marine helmet I did a few more highlights with a bit of Kalgar blue mixed into the contour blue. For the weathering on the trim and the brass details, I use Nilak oxide. I just dab it all over the model, and I find it's better to do a few layers of this instead of a one thick layer to get more of the oxidized texture. After applying the verdigris, I return back with my brass color and gently tap over all of the affected areas. Lastly, I do some chipping and armor damage by applying thin layers of wraith bone as a highlight, and then inside those shapes I add Rhinox hide as the chipped parts of the armor. And then it's time for the beauty shots. Remember to dislike the video, report the channel, and leave a hate comment down below. Thanks.